Kamen Rider Zi-O.
Hello Tokusatsu community, welcome back to Toku Topics. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time for an episode of Kamen Reviews Zi-O. Welcome to Kamen Reviews Zi-O, the series where I cover every episode, review every episode of Kamen Rider from the Heisei period, every season, every episode. Usually it's in a long series video where I cover the whole series in a couple hours, but since Zi-O is the current series, I wanted to go ahead and cover Zi-O episode by episode. That way we have content going constantly on the channel, and we can continue to speculate and everything as Zi-O goes on, and we can watch it together. Continuing on, we have Kamen Rider Zi-O Episode 2, Best Match 2017. This episode aired on September 9th, 2018. It's the second episode of Zi-O, the 913th overall episode of the Heisei period, and the 1387th episode of Kamen Rider in general. In this episode, another build returns, and to defeat him, Sogo and Gates travel back to 2017 to seek the help of Kamen Rider's Build and Cross to stop the Time Jacker's plan. The monster this week was Kaijin Rider Another Build, once again. My favorite quote was, "That was so exciting, my dear Banjo." Sento and Ryuga were coming back from their first tour and their concert, and they were just being really silly. And that was also my favorite moment of this episode, was their entire introduction to this episode. And background is the Zi-O build armor, and this week's Legend Riders continue to be build and cross. So this episode was sort of a mixed bag. There's a lot I love about this episode, and it mainly ties back to the build tribute portions of this episode. Sento and Ryuga they're just amazing here. They are complete goofs, they have their classic lines from Build. Sento gets in, "This is terrible," Ryuga's flies down at the end of the episode. It was all amazing. One of my favorite parts of this episode is when Zi-O in his build armor does the finisher attack, and instead of math equations all over the place, like Build, there's just a bunch of random phrases and such that pop up, since Sogo is new at this and doesn't really get it. I love that. Woz and the Time Jackers were in this episode again, and they're still mysterious characters as it is really early in the series and we don't know much about them. Woz keeps popping up and progressing the plot, and it seems he'll be doing the recaps this year as he starts and ends the episode like he's telling us a story. Plus he's standing in front of the prop that was used for the Chronos clock in X-Aid. Whether or not that's just a reused prop or something more important, we don't know yet, but that's just a little nice touch. Wool gets introduced better here and is a very excited character. He's really into this role, and I really enjoy him as a villain for this series. He's the leader of the Time Jackers, as it seems, and he's also the one who created Another Build last week. Speaking of the villains, Another Build returned in this episode and got some really nice moments. I felt pretty proud for the guy. He finally found his version of a best match, and he did eat the bottles, which was odd, but he doesn't really have a driver to put them into, so it works. I also really loved when he gave Ryuga a big hug, since Build's best match is Cross, and he's technically Build. He was just so excited. He's like, "Cross," and he just runs up and gives him a big hug, and Ryuga is really creeped out, and Sento steps away, and he's like, "That made me jealous." It was amazing. I loved it. There's a lot of confusing time travel elements to this episode though, like Sento being erased from time and only being Katsuragi Takemi or something like that. The whole thing with Sogo giving Ryuga and Sento the watches that then eventually became the Build and Cross watches, and why would they have the watches with them the day they came back from that concert? What version of Build's timeline are we in? Is this post-Evolt, world erasing? Is this during the show? I mean, if it's 2017, it's during the show, but are the concert parts after the Build, which I think that they are. There's just some things that I'm not really understanding about what the Time Jackers' plans are doing to the timeline of the Kamen Rider franchise that I'm hoping Zi-O will kind of fix as we go along. While there was a lot of fun moments in this episode, Gates is still very one-noted, still just after Zi-O, but he is starting to warm up to him a little bit towards the end of the episode. And overall, there's just not a whole lot I have to say. The build elements were great. I think any build fan will be quite a fan of this episode, as I am, and I did enjoy it quite a bit, so I gave it a solid 6 out of 10. I can't wait to see Emu Hojo, Kamen Rider Zi next week, as he did have a brief cameo at the end of the episode, which I think is what they're going to keep doing to kind of tease the next Legend Rider arc that we're going to go into. So this wraps the 2-episode arc on Build and begins our next 2-episode arc with Zi next week. And until next time, be sure to check out Toku Topics, and be sure to give a like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you never miss a video, including all these Kamen reviews every week. And be sure to check out my other content over at the Toku Toy Story News blog. And of course, check out my friend Corey's Go Mango watch-alongs of this series and other series on his channel linked below. Follow me on Twitter at LivingRangerKey. And until next time, Tokusatsu forever.